Hi guys, before we move ahead, do not forget to follow me on Medium. I write about relationships, life lessons, self-help, self-awareness. You might want to check that out. So follow me on Medium. Also, if you guys have some freelance projects that you guys want me to do, then go ahead and hit me up on Fiverr and we will move ahead from there. Hey guys, so before we move ahead, I'm just gonna quickly show you the color palette. So this is my color palette. Now this color palette looks a bit crazy. Now I'm just gonna show you, this is the base color. This is my base color that I'm using for today's tutorial. I know this is not dark, this is like a tannish skin color, but that's what we are gonna be learning today, because I don't want to go straight to the really dark skin tone, because that's going to be really confusing for you guys. So I thought, why not start with a tannish skin color? So that's why I decided to choose this one. So that's that, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick each and every color so that you can actually see the movement in the color wheel. So as you can see, the next color is has a little bit of a pink and a little bit of red. Now I'm not going to be explaining the colors in detail just now. I will explain you guys while we are painting the skin. So as I move ahead, I also have a little bit of reds in there, like browns, and some really purple kind of color, like a dark, not really purple, but dark pink kind of color we have here. And then we have a dark blue color. And for the blush, I have this really saturated red color, and I have this pink color. Now this pink color represents the color from the environment, so this is not a color that we are going to be incorporating in the skin like that, but just the light. So this is just for the light. So if you want to go ahead with any other color than pink, then you can go ahead with that. Just make sure the color is saturated. So even if you're using a blue, just make sure it's pretty saturated. So this is for the light reflection, and then we have this color right here, which is for highlights. Now as you can see, the color is not really light as we have in the lighter skin tones. We use kind of whitish kind of color, but here we are not going to be using that. That is going to be harsh, I think. So that's the color right. So guys, I am starting out with shading the skin with the base color. As you can see, the base color is pretty saturated, and it is on the red color side, or if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's what I'm doing today. I'm not really going in with the darker shades yet, because I want you guys to understand the tannish skin tones first, so that we can understand it better, and then we can move ahead with the darker skin tones. So I'll be doing a video on dark skin tones, like the dark skin tones, later on my channel. So as you guys can see here, I'm picking up this pink color, not pink, but the dark version of pink, which is pretty saturated. Now the techniques of shading face is gonna be the same as I have on my other video, which shows shading a lighter skin tone. And as you guys can see, I always start by shading the nose, because it just guides me throughout the whole face once I'm done with the nose. So what I basically do is I have two darker shades right here, and one of them is darker pink color and darker brownish kind of color. So if you guys have seen the tutorial on skin shading, you must know I always tell you guys to keep colors from orange undertone and pink undertone in your color palette, and as well as some blue tones in there. So that's what I'm doing here. That's how my palettes looks here. I have some pinks, I have some browns, and I have some blues in there, but the only difference here is all of these colors are a little darker and they are pretty saturated. So that is the difference between lighter skin tones and darker skin tones. In lighter skin tones, we do not actually use highly saturated colors like that, and here in the darker skin tone, all of the colors are pretty saturated. But the highlights for the darker skin tone tend to be less saturated or desaturated in nature. So that's how the whole thing goes. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm actually creating a base with that pink, dark pink color, dark pink saturated color, I should say, and I'm creating the shadows on the eyes and the eyelids and the crease, the nose, and pretty much that is how I go. And also I try not to use blending tool when I'm shading skin. The reason being, I think blending tool smoothens out everything and the face doesn't really look natural and realistic if you are going for that look, and blending tool just makes it flat and lifeless. So I always suggest to avoid using blending tool as much as you could, and you just shade with the brush itself. And here I'm using soft air brush, by the way, and I do have a video on my channel where I teach you guys how to blend colors without using the blending tool, so you should check that video out if you're looking out for that, because I highly recommend not using any blending tool while you're shading skin. Now that's how we create that skin texture, and that's how we create or bring out that realism out of the painting. So that's what I'm doing here, and it looks good so far. And once I'm done with that pink shadow layering, what I do is I just create a new layer, and then I start building up color with that brownish color. As you guys can see, I just have a new layer where I am doing this where I'm layering this brownish color over the pink one. Now the key here is to sprinkle that color here and there, like really use that color over that pinkish kind of shade, so that we can see that pink color through the browns, if that makes any sense, you guys. So the reason why we do not use the similar color for darker shades and lighter shades is because it just makes the whole face looks ashy and lifeless. That is why so basically the thing here is your skin color. There is no skin color actually. Your skin color is made up of all of the primary colors that we have, which is yellow, red, and blue. So we get all of our skin tones by mixing those colors, and that is the reason why I always suggest to have blues, pinks, and reds in your skin color palette. Now that's how it looks natural. Apart from that, what I'm doing here is I'm actually creating this really lifted eye effect by shading some of the color just behind those eyebrows in a diagonal shape, and that actually gives the face that whole lifted kind of look if you are going for that, and I really love that. Also for the crease, what you want to do is you want to keep the crease area pretty harsh and do not really blend that out that much, because that's not gonna look realistic at all. So that's what I do there. I just lay the color and I do not blend it out like that. I just put the color really light-handed, and I also create some of the deep color, like deep line just in between. I hope that makes sense. That's how you create the eye crease area, and that's how that looks natural. So that's what I'm doing. I'm building that pink color and that brownish color that we have in our palette. So guys, here I'm adding some shadows just underneath the lips and also above the cupid's bow. And those shadows are again gonna be a little bit harsh and a little bit blended. So I always talk about this. Your face is a combination of harsh shadows and harsh highlights, and again blended shadows and blended highlights. So you want to make sure you are keeping both of those. And for the blended shadows and the blended highlights, you are still going to be using just the brush. Now that's how we get that really skin-like texture. So guys, here I'm adding that same dark pink color at the sides of the nose, just so that the nose look blended or well fitted with the face. And that's what I'm doing here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go back in with that pink color and gonna start shading that color on the contours of the face and also on the forehead. Now I'm going to be following the similar technique again, and first I'm just going to build up the color, the pink color first, and then I'm just gonna go ahead with the brown color to build that up above that pink color. Now, as you guys can see here, I'm using blending tool just because the edges of those contour look really trashy. And yeah, I did not say do not use blending tool at all. What I said is avoid using that tool as much as you possibly could. So blending those edges doesn't actually make that face look smoothen out that much. So even if you're blending something, just make sure you're not blending it all out. So that's what I actually meant by that. So that's that. And yeah, as you guys can see, I'm done building up that pink color, and I'm now actually going in with that brownish shade, and I am building that over the contours that I just placed with that pink color. I hope this all is not confusing. This is actually pretty clear. So you basically go in with a pink undertone first, and then you go ahead with the brown one. Now, I do it differently when I am shading a lighter skin tone. I go ahead with browns first and pink ones after that. Now for the blush as well, make sure to use really saturated color. Now if you guys want to bring those cheeks out more, then use a lighter blush color. But if not, then as you guys can see, I'm using this really saturated red color. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm not only gonna place that color on the cheeks, but also on the bridge of the nose, a little bit on the tip of the nose as well, and a little bit on the forehead. That's how you make it look natural and realistic. So that's what I am doing here. Now here I am taking this dark blue color, and I am gonna be focusing this color just on the outer parts of the contours, if that makes any sense. As you guys can see, just to add a little more depth to the face. So on the outer part of all of the contours of the face or shadows of the face, I'm just going to be adding this color. Now here I'm going back in with the red blush color and adding this color on the forehead a little bit, and on the bridge of the nose and on the tip of the nose as well, just to make it all look nice and balanced. Now I'm gonna highlight the face. Now as you guys can see, the highlight color is not extremely light. Now that's how we want it to be, and make sure it is not white at all. So before I go crazy with the highlighting, what I do is I just create a new layer and I start highlighting underneath the eyes, around the mouth, and on the forehead between the eyebrows. And I barely touch the screen, and I just add a bit of that color onto the skin. So that's how you want to do it. So that's the first step. So what we are basically doing is we are building up colors little by little. That's how we get to that realistic natural look with the skin. So once I am done with that, I'm also going in with this brush called Skin Texture. Now for this brush, go check out my video on free Procreate brushes. This brush is amazing. And so what it does, it adds skin texture to the face. So once you have that brush, just pick up that light highlight color and just barely touch the screen and add a little bit of texture onto the skin. Now here what I'm doing is, as you guys can see, I picked up this really bright saturated pink color. Now this pink color is just to show you guys how the lighting is gonna look, or how the colors from the environment of the portrait painting is gonna look on the skin. So that's what I'm showing you guys here. I'm actually not gonna go in with that because it was just to show you guys how to paint that color onto the skin. So here I'm gonna go crazy with the highlights, and I am using the soft air brush again, and I've decreased the size of the brush, and I am going over the cheekbones, the tip of the nose, the bridge of the nose, the brow bone and also on the lips as well, and a little dot on the forehead as well. You'll see on the screen what I'm doing here. And yeah, that is actually self-explanatory. That is why I'm not going into detail with the highlights, but make sure you are building the color up slowly and then you're adding the highlights. So basically the key here, or the key for skin shading, is to build the colors up little by little, and that's how you actually get that realistic, natural looking skin. Now here I'm doing some finishing touch with that bright pink color and adding that color just a bit over the shadows, just a little bit. So that is actually not needed, but I'm doing that. I'm just adding that color wherever the shadows are, just a little bit, just barely touching the screen. So that's that. Actually the skin looks good, and that's it for today's tutorial. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please do not forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Also subscribe to my channel. I post every Monday and Thursday. And also, if you do create something out of this tutorial, then tag me on Instagram and I will link it down in the description. And I would also link it down the color palette that I used in this video. And yeah, I will see you guys the next time.